This is about the fight between the Bobs. Now, I know some other people have covered it, but frankly, they haven't covered it in light of the lawsuits. And I think what I want to do is read through it, and there may be a little bit of skimming, but I want to read through the pertinent facts in this. It is a longer article, but I want to read through it because there's some facts in this article which may end up coming out in court. Now, a lot of this information about this battle of the Bobs, the battle between Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, this information is stuff that we've been talking about, that people like WWE Pro, Valiant Renegade, those guys have been talking about for a long time. I've known this stuff. It was obvious from the things that came out that there was a conflict between what Chapek was saying and what Disney was doing. Chapek said, don't be political, let's get away from making statements, and then proceeded to make a political statement. So obviously there was something going on. There would never be such clear contradictions by his CEO unless they had a mouse-sized fist where the sun doesn't shine. And that turns out to be Bob Iger's. Bob Iger seems to have been the puppeteer behind all of this. So we're going to get into this, what was going on with Chapek right here today. So we're going to jump right into this. I will skim some of it though. So we'll jump right into reading this. And I want to point out the parts that are going to be relevant, and also the parts that may come up in court, because now we have the possibility of Bob Iger being deposed and Bob Chapek being deposed. And now we have the possibility of Chapek, who's kind of pissed off, flipping in court, flipping under deposition and saying, hey, look, I'm telling the truth. And the truth is I was screwed over by Iger and I was just following Iger's orders. It was really all Iger in the first place. And that will lose massive face for Disney. And what it will do is it will tank their price even lower because people will not have confidence in Disney's leadership. And they will not have confidence in Iger's leadership. Iger's whole battle plan was to blame everything on Chapek and for him to take this. But if Chapek doesn't take this bullet and it falls on Iger, well, that's going to look really bad. And when investors realize they're stuck with Iger until 2026, yeah, they're not going to be too happy about that, because that's 3 more years of price depreciation of the stock, and they're not happy about that. So, all right, after pushing back his retirement 4 times, Bob Iger finally made the leap. He said he would step down as CEO. He handpicked Bob Chapek and gave over the day-to-day of running the company immediately, except for he didn't do that, right? We all know that. Bob Iger had no interest in moving out. He wasn't truly leaving Disney anyway. His succession plan allowed him to stay on as executive chairman for 22 months. Chapek would report to him in the board. Iger would also direct the company's creative endeavors. So Iger was in charge of all the woke bullshit. Nebulous phrasing suggesting he would retain control of movie and TV content and operations. Full stop real quick. We've said this for months now. We've been talking about this. We've known this for months now. The reason I think the mainstream media is flipping is because they smell blood in the water, number one, because number two, Disney is being tough regarding the strikes, or rather the strikers are being unreasonable and Disney's not bending the knee. So now they're out for mouse blood. Now the left is kind of eating itself because otherwise CNBC, a very liberal institution, would not turn on one of its own. And yes, CNBC is owned by a subsidiary that is related to Comcast, which is related to the party involving the Hulu deal, right? So obviously there's some relationship here, but I don't think they're publishing this to screw Disney because of that deal. I actually think they're publishing it because Disney is falling out of line in a way, or stepped out of line. They're trying to chop them back into line. So I do think they're writing this to try to punish Disney. In a sense. All right, so here we go. There's a practical reason why Iger didn't want to move out. It had a private shower. I'm surprised it wasn't a bathhouse. I'm sorry, with all we've found out from Tucker recently, I'm surprised it wasn't a bathhouse with Barry coming over every other day. But that being said, it's built for Eisner, the vanity for shaving. Iger, it's 72. Whoa, I didn't realize he's 72 years old. This guy's up here in Biden land. He consistently woke up at 4:15 a.m. to work out and shower. On evenings when Iger was heading out for Disney premiere, award show, or benefit, he would take a second shower, this time in the office. Iger told Chapek he lived for those 2 shower days. Iger chose Chapek 64 as his successor because of Chapek's integrity and business acumen, not his interest in Hollywood socialization. Chapek has the outward corporate demeanor of a Midwestern businessman, or as one colleague jokingly put it, a tuna salad sandwich who sits in front of spreadsheets. He's a risk taker who is not afraid to upend the status quo, but he's just not a schmoozer by nature. Okay, so they're kind of two different dudes. So, Chapek wanted to keep the shower, and Iger wanted to keep the shower, so Chapek moved into a smaller office. But there's more than that, right? This is more than that. When you're the guy with everybody in an office knows, office size is related to, power. I don't know what else you guys were thinking about. It's just power, right? General power. This was a sign for power, right? Just raw power, right? So obviously the bigger office is a thing. Everyone wants the corner office, the bigger office. Everyone wants that. But in this case, Big Daddy with the number one status remains Iger. It's a subtle dominance thing. And when you combine that with the fact that he had this poster called of the Iger sanction changed to the Iger sanction, spelled with his name, right? Which is very, very, very weird. So he took this poster here of Clint Eastwood and kind of put his face on it, right? And it's about a assassin who came back from retirement to, do one last job, right? But it's Bob Iger, right? Narcissism much? Yeah. Couple messages here. Crypt Keeper VT says, holy crap! Finally catch you alive on your channel, says someone else's. Keep up the good work on reporting the mouse getting ghetto gagged like a German Shepherd. I absolutely will. Also, over on Locals, have a $1 tip from Ben SC, who said, good morning, Mr. Regal Mindset. Good morning to you. Good morning to you on this lovely, we're having a nice casual stream here today. Unplanned, but listen, it is still working out just fine. So appreciate that. And also appreciate Dragon's Treasure Tea, Aaron, SC Medic, Danielle, and all those over there on Rumble. Also, shout out to Cannon Hotep for $5, who says salute on Rumble. Shout out to you, Cannon. Let me see if that pops over there. Yeah, shout out to Cannon over here on Rumble. Shout out to all those over on Rumble, over in the Rumble ghetto. I appreciate all my Rumble gangsters. Okay, so shout out to all y'all. All right, continuing here. Iger told his peers and colleagues he returned to Disney to correct what he sees as one of the biggest mistakes of his career, choosing Chapek. So this is really crazy that he went and he was the one who picked Chapek, right? He was the one who went out and chose Chapek as his successor. So it's like blaming honestly, it's like blaming, like being too mean about an ex, okay? Because at a certain point, you can say, okay, my ex was crazy and this and that, but you picked her, It's like an ex-wife or an ex-husband. It's like at some point you had the agency to say yes to that person, agree to deal with them, right? So, by the way, I'm being unisex on this one, guys. So it's like the same thing with Iger. Iger's like, he picked Chapek as his waifu, right? And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, she doesn't make ham sandwiches well, so she's out. Well, you picked him. Didn't you vet him? Didn't you make sure his ham sandwich game was fire and on point? It's very, very odd. It's extremely odd. So let's get back into this with the Iger secession plan. So Iger's decision to step down not only shocked the entertainment and media worlds, but even took his close associates by surprise. Disney's head of streaming, Kevin Meyer, who many outsiders likely pegged as the replacement, found out minutes before the public announcement. I didn't know at all it was coming, so it was surprising. But Iger figured the timing was right. He was getting close to 70, being CEO for 15 years. He launched Disney Plus, which was a success. Now, this is bullshit and spin. So this is where the article is spinning this. Disney was not really an instant success. It was artificially inflated in terms of subscriber numbers because of COVID. However, those numbers weren't going to last. And also the prices, the amount they were making was not sufficient to cover their costs. So that saying was a success. Pump the brakes there, Haas. Pump the brakes. So Iger thought Chapek was all right. Chapek has a storied backstory. He had a World War II vet dad, a working mom, nice backstory, his little CV, all that good stuff. And Chapek cemented his reputation with Iger in the board during the construction of Shanghai Disney, the $5.5 billion theme park that Disney does not even own. Let's be very clear about that. Shanghai Disney is really Disney getting Shanghaied. And by that, I mean they don't own a thing there, an absolute thing there. They get access to a bit of the money. But at any time, Disney can pull the rug. And anytime the Chinese underlying company that owns that can just disassociate from mainland Disney, from Disney in the US, just operate as its own company, kick them out. When the CCP chairman says, you know what, boot them. They got to boot them. And they're done. There's no property rights in China. There's no property rights in most communist countries, which is why buying real estate, investing in real estate, large real estate ventures, it's kind of silly. Ask me how I know. Right? Hold on. Bass says, look at the crummy URL for frozen formatting. Okay. All right. Thank you, Bass. Appreciate that. And let me make sure I've got everybody behind the scenes here. Yes, I got everybody. All right. So Iger would tell others he mistook Chapek's stellar operational track record for leadership skills. That's your own decision. So if this is true and you're saying, oh, well, I made him, I thought Chapek was great, but he really sucked. That's on you, homeboy. Then maybe you don't know what leadership is. And yes, and I'll be right. There's no privately owned companies in China. It's all the CCP. Yes, exactly. I mean, the CCP's got a piece of it all. Got a piece of the action. This is a striking admission for Iger, who prides himself on his emotional intelligence. You know how I know Iger is a little weird? The only people that talk about emotional intelligence are like 18-year-old girls. Okay? We're talking about emotional intelligence here. Come on. Some Disney executives have privately speculated that Iger chose Chapek because he wouldn't rival him in charisma or celebrity, or cynically because he was unlikely to eclipse Iger's glittering record. What is clear is Iger didn't know Chapek as well as he should have. On a day-to-day basis, Iger worked far more closely with Meyer and Staggs. Iger didn't mention Chapek once in his biography outside the prologue. In fact, he spends 5 pages discussing Twin Peaks. Who the hell cares about Twin Peaks? Okay. In 2017, according to people familiar with the matter, Iger first told Chapek he was in the running to be his potential successor. So he was in the running, but I don't think Chapek ever really realized that, right? Rather knew that. Okay. And guys, this is all going to come up in the lawsuits because all of this was kind of meant to be intentional. And remember, a lot of these lawsuits, they're really talking about a misuse of company resources. They're talking about negligence. They're talking about what should be due diligence. So if Iger is admitting now that he didn't do his due diligence in selecting Chapek, yeah, that's bad. That's real bad. It doesn't help those lawsuits. It doesn't make them better. This video has been a clip of a previous live stream, and it's clipped so you can get the information in a shorter, compact package, the information you need. If you want the full video, the whole context, the whole thing, you can check out the full stream that is in the link below. Check that out, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.